minutes? Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Community Connections, and it's sponsored by the State Department of Education and Special Education. I'm the moderator, Susan Ballas. I am one of the program specialists here focusing on behavior. We also have Kristen Coleman, who is also a program specialist, and Kristen Perez Reckles, and she is an MTSS specialist focusing on behavior, and they will be available to respond to anything in the chat. So if you have any questions, please feel free to just put something in the chat, and we'll have time to be able to respond to questions later. So we would like to welcome Lori Wathen. Lori is a regional coordinator for Sooner Success at the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center. Sooner Success provides resources and information to families that are raising a child with special needs. Lori is the parent of an 18-year-old son, Rice. I hope that I pronounced that correctly. Reese. Okay, Reese. Who was born with Down syndrome. Lori is a LEND, Leadership and Education and Neurodevelopment Disabilities Fellow. Lori is currently the president-elect for the Oklahoma PTA and serves on Oklahoma IDEA-B State Advisory Panel. Ms. Wathen also serves on numerous boards and advisory committees, including Special Education Resolution Center Advisory Board, Able Tech Advisory Council, and More Schools Transition Team. Lori is an advocate for people with disabilities and passionate supporter of public education. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. Do you want me to tell you a little bit about our organization?
Yes, please do.
So Sooner Success is a program of the Child Study Center at the OU Health Science Center. We also are embedded in Children's Hospital. We fall under the section of developmental and behavioral pediatrics. We have been around for about 18 years. Dr. Woolreich is who founded Sooner Success when he came here from Tennessee. He, in clinic over at the Child Study Center, saw a lot of families in rural Oklahoma and realized when he sent those families back home to their communities, there wasn't a lot of resources, and there definitely was no one in that community to help coordinate services for family or help families navigate services. And so Sooner Success originally started out in rural Oklahoma, but we soon noticed that even communities rich in resources like Oklahoma County and Tulsa County, Cleveland County, families still had a hard time navigating services. They still didn't know where to go to get what they needed for their child or their family. And they also needed help in care coordination. Our mission is to advance a comprehensive unified system of health, social, and educational services for children and youth with special needs within their community. Do you want me to go ahead? I don't know. Do you want to ask me the questions, or you want me just to kind of go into them? Sorry.
Susan, you're muted.
You're muted.
Thank you. What services do you provide specifically to families?
Sure. So we serve actually children and adults now that have an intellectual disability, so autism, Down syndrome, Fragile X, children or adults with physical disabilities, emotional or behavioral health challenges, mental health challenges, children with developmental delays and intellectual disabilities, which I mentioned already, learning disabilities, so ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia, sensory processing disorders, and children that have been abused and neglected or at risk for abuse and neglect. So some of the data shows that upwards of 25% of children in state custody have some form of developmental disability due to the trauma that they've suffered. So that's why we include even children that are at risk for abuse and neglect. And so how do we help families? Well, we help with a lot of different things. It just depends on the family we're serving. So first and foremost, I like to say we try to help families understand or untangle all the sooner this and sooner that in this state. And we're part of that problem because we're Sooner Success. And we get confused with Sooner Start a lot. But helping them understand Sooner Care and what their benefits are under Sooner Care, understanding Sooner Ride, which is a component of Sooner Care. And then of course, Sooner Start, helping them understand or apply for TEFRA, which is a way for families to get on Sooner Care based on the child's disability and not the family's income. We help families find doctors and therapists, and we don't just send them a list, okay, here's 3 doctors. We find out what their insurance is, where they live, and we call around, what their preference of services are, because on therapy, they may want in-clinic services or they may want at-home services. So we find out all that information, and then we narrow the list down to those therapists and doctors that's accepting new patients, accepting their insurance, and can provide the services in the family's preferred method. So we also help find respite care for families, and that's a really big one. And we have seen a huge increase in respite applications during the pandemic. You guys understand, the kids are not at school, they're at home with mom and dad, upwards to 24 hours a day. Mom and dad need a break. And there's a lot of flexibility right now within the respite programs that even we can pay one parent and give the other parent a break. We manage at Sooner Success the Lifespan Respite Grant Program. We also manage the Systems of Care Respite Grant Program through the Department of Mental Health. There are other respite voucher programs in the state. DHS, Department of Human, I'm trying not to use acronyms. Department of Human Services, Developmental Disability Services has one, as does SSI-DCP, which is Social Security Insurance, and DCP stands for Disabled Children's Program. That's also under DHS's realm. So definitely we can connect families to a respite voucher program that can serve them. We also help families find community activities for children with special needs. So that might be the local baseball team, inclusive or specific for children with disabilities, helping them connect to a Special Olympics team, horseback riding, karate, whatever the kid wants to do, we try to find that community activity that best suits them. Helping families navigate transition services, and that includes healthcare transition and school to work. Helping them find summer camps. And when we do help with those, we also try to, if the family needs assistance in paying for summer camp or a community sports program, we also look for where we can find the funds to help that family pay for that service also. We also help navigate educational services, so IEP related services. We do attend IEP meetings to help families advocate for additional services at school, or behavior services, whatever that might look like for the family. We also have a SIB Shop program in the state. SIB Shops is a program that serves the brothers and sisters of kiddos with disabilities to help them deal with the good, bad, and so things of having a brother or sister. Currently, SIB Shops is being held virtually, but we are still trying to keep them going during this pandemic so that when it's safe to get siblings back together, those programs still are standing up in our communities. We also have bilingual services available. So we do have a bilingual coordinator on staff. Her name is Ana Solaso Campa, who can assist us with Spanish-speaking families. So that's kind of how we help families one-on-one.
That's fabulous. Such a broad spectrum of supports. That's excellent. The majority of the people that are here today are educators. And so what services do you provide to schools or educational professionals?
Sure. So we do get calls from teachers, and, thank you. I'm also a parent. I have an 18-year-old son with Down syndrome, as Susan stated. So special education teachers are near and dear to my heart. sometimes you guys are the first contact with parents. And I think parents come to you and say, hey, this is going on, or we need this, or we need that. And they're looking for help from teachers. But bless y'all's heart, y'all can't know everything about everything. So we're here to help you and support you. You can shoot us if a parent needs a resource, you can shoot us an email. Tell us what you're looking for. We can get back with you. You can send us the family's contact information with their approval, of course, and we'll contact the family. What else was I going to say? Hate it when that happens. Or you can give the parent our contact. You can give the parent our contact information and have them contact us. We also have a program, it's called the Parents with Disabilities Project. So, and I know OSDE has advertised this before, but if you're working with a parent that has a disability and maybe you're struggling to communicate with them or to give them information in the best format that they need, we're only a phone call away for consultation on how best you might need to communicate or develop a relationship with that parent with the disability. We also can provide virtual resource fairs for your schools. We can come and speak to parents. We can do it over Zoom, in person, when that's available again. We've done numerous, we call them on the roads. And I know we did one for more schools around transition services. So it can be even narrowed down to more a specific topic where we would host the event, bring in the speakers to talk about the different subjects that you wanted to discuss with your parents. And we can help facilitate that. We maybe could also provide some cookies and something to drink during the event also. Because sometimes as schools funding or paying for stuff like that can be difficult.
That's great. I'm just wondering, in your experience, what do you feel that Oklahoma schools are doing well right now?
So I just really think that Oklahoma has done really well in handling the pandemic. As teachers, you guys really had to pivot quickly to provide services, and especially for students receiving special education services that look totally different for you guys. I think for the most part, Oklahoma schools did a great job in pivoting and in providing those services to those families and to those students.
So what do you think possibly would need improvement in the way Oklahoma schools address special education needs?
So anytime I get a chance to talk about it, I do. And that's just presuming competence. I think it's really important as teachers that, we presume that our students can do the work and give them a chance to do that and challenge them to do, more difficult work and push them as students. I think that's the one thing, and I know it's hard. I think sometimes we kind of get in a mindset to group students together and we kind of feel like, well, this is those students' level, but each student is individual and should be given the opportunity to show their competency, at an individual level.
Yes, I agree with what Kristen just posted. I love that presume competence phrase. I think that really encapsulates, what is definitely needed. So what suggestions do you have that schools could focus on to make improvements?
Well, I think professional development and training is really important for our teachers. I think that helps them move the bar in their classrooms and in their teaching that they do. I don't know. That's a hard question because I'm not a teacher. And I always think that as teachers, another thing is offering training to parents, especially at the high school level. I know as a parent myself, transition is just such a huge thing. And it's not one of those things that you can just pop in senior year and know everything there is to know. Families need more time to wrap their heads around transition, and transitioning services should start, I think, middle school level. And we've got to educate parents around transition and what all it involves. We at Sooner Success, we get those calls from those parents who their kids are getting ready to graduate, and they're like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm a working parent. What's he going to do all day? I don't want him sitting at home in front of the TV. And it's really difficult at that time to have those discussions with parents because some of the services have wait lists. We all know the Medicaid waiver here in our state for students with intellectual disabilities is 12 years long. So that's not the best time to be having that conversation. That conversation actually should start in elementary school. We should make sure all those kids starting at whenever you first see them, that first IEP is, are you guys on the waiting list for the in-home community support waiver? And if they're not, let's get them in touch with someone and let's get that application filled out and done. So
Lord,
I lose my train. I'm sorry.
oh, I'm so sorry. I was just going to say, I am so glad that you brought up that importance for transition services and transition planning so early on. I was, one of the weird elementary teachers who would give that transition map folder to all of my parents. Because it is a longer process than we think. So I wish, it's that hindsight thing. I wish I had known more about the services that you all provided so I could, refer parents to you, especially when it came to things like signing up for the SSI list and making sure that they knew how to coordinate the TEFRA process. I did not realize that y'all did that. So I think that's awesome.
Right there, you're right. There's just so many things to consider, Department of Rehabilitative Services application. But first, those parents need to know what all is included in those services. What can the school offer me? What can DRS offer me? And sometimes as a parent, if you don't know what to ask for, unfortunately, sometimes your kid's not going to get it. So that's why I think it's so important to start transition planning, transition universities, parent universities, whatever you want to call them, in elementary, middle school, and really bring those parents along, kind of do some hand holding to get them ready for when their kiddos hit high school, and start that transition process. Then there's guardianship options to look at, or powers of attorney. There's if they're not receiving SSI, then when they turn 18, you have to sign, of course, apply for SSI. That's a process in itself. And then, of course, there's that if they're on Sooner Care or Medicaid, there's that transition from child Medicaid to adult Medicaid. And it's a lot for parents to process. And that's why I love the idea of starting transition services as early as possible, at least feeding them a little bit of information at a time so that they can kind of wrap their head around it when their child's in high school, and be better prepared and know what to ask for, and kind of know what's coming at them.
Those are excellent suggestions. And I want to reemphasize that the importance of being able to reach out and connect with you. What is the best way for educators to gain contact with your organization?
Sure. I'm going to share a screen that shows where our county coordinators are, and how come that's not showing on my share? Let me hang on. Let's go back here. To do a web, oh, here it is. Here we go. Yay. Here we go. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
So
Yes.
we are a statewide program, but we have county coordinators embedded in 19 counties across Oklahoma. We're very strategic about the 19 counties that we're in, and it's due to funding, how much money we get to run our program. We do cover over 50% of the child population in these 19 counties that we're in. And you can go to our website, which is soonersuccess.ouhsc.edu. And you can click on any of these counties and get that county coordinator's contact information. Or you can call the number at the top, the 405-271-2710. And we also have a 1-877 number also. And we have someone that answers that phone. Tell them where you're at if you're not in one of these counties, and they will connect you to your closest county coordinator. And we do help families from way down here in southeastern Oklahoma and northwestern Oklahoma. Thank God for the internet and the phone system. You know, I've gotten calls from Atoka before needing speech services, and you know, it was in Antlers, Oklahoma, and they had to drive to McAllister to get those services. So an hour round trip for that family to get speech services. But we were able to find them someone who accepted Sooner Care and had openings for speech therapy.
That is so great. So would they reach out to the location that was closest to their county in order to be able to access those services?
Yes, or if they were in one of those Till counties, they can call the 271 number, and we'll have that county coordinator call them. And then I was also we have, I don't know this, I have a background. Let me take my background off right here. You can see this. Here is we have brochures, and they have county coordinator contact information on the back of them. But we would be more than happy to mail these to your school and put them at Attention U. And I know Todd has, we do have a small contract with the Department of Ed. So Todd is more than happy for teachers to hand these out at IEP meetings, just like you do the Parent Center survey. If you have families that need resources, or you just think it might be a good idea for them to contact us.
Lori, can you really quickly, just for my curiosity, can you kind of walk through what that contact would look like for families? Or are they always going to interact with the same person? Okay.
Yeah, generally they would. A lot of times our families, once we help them, they have our contact information, and they call us back when something else comes up in life, you know. Maybe when we talk to them, they don't need respite care, but 2 or 3 months later, they're like, oh, Lori, I'm about to pull my hair out. You know, I need some respite care. And then they contact us back, and we can assist them with whatever the need is at that time. But yes, generally, Kristen, they would be in contact with the same coordinator. Now, sometimes if they live like really far, like southeastern Oklahoma, if I wasn't available to answer that call, one of the other coordinators may answer the call instead.
Okay. I was mostly, okay. I was asking because you guys do so much in terms of care coordinating, that I imagine it might be, you might establish some kind of I don't know.
Rapport, yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
a
And
lot of our families.
yeah, you know the circumstances of that family, and I imagine it would be a little bit less difficult for them to talk to the same person. So, love that.
Right. And a lot of our coordinators are parents themselves and have navigated these services for their child or young adult. And so they have, intimate knowledge about the services and how to apply, what services are provided, um, what you need to ask for, how you need to ask for it, because sometimes that matters. And we also have applications too. We don't have SSI applications, but we do have the developmental disability services applications for like the family support assistance payment, for the in-home community support waiver, for the respite voucher application. And even if families, and we can send them snail mail, because a lot of the families I talk to, we ask what your preference is. Do you want me to email you this information or mail it to you? And a lot of them want us to mail it because they don't have printers or they don't have ink for their printers. And, we understand that times are hard for a lot of families. So we have the ability to mail them the applications. And we always tell them, when you get this application, I just had this conversation earlier today with a family. When you get this application, I know we talked about a lot. When you get this application, if you have any questions or any questions about any of the programs, just give me a call back and we'll walk through it again. Or I can even, help you fill that application out over the phone or via Zoom. So that's another service that we offer. And also, I want to mention too that Sooner Success does what we call community capacity building. So in those 19 counties, our coordinators set on coalitions. They're multidisciplinary, they meet once a month, and they look different from county to county. So Kingfisher is a coalition for the health and wellness of the whole county. So is Logan County's. But then you drop down to Eva Smith in Cleveland County. Her coalition is disability specific for children and adults. In Oklahoma County, we set on the Safe Kids Coalition and also the OK Kids team, which is a mental and behavioral health coalition. So each of our coalitions kind of serve different populations. Pottawatomie County has just a Sooner Success coalition. So it's just children and adults with disabilities on that coalition too. And we set on these coalitions so that we can remind the other partners at the table, because usually DHS, the school, the health department, different programs or agencies that serve the community set on there. And we just want to remind them, hey, we have families that's raising a child with a disability in this community. So anytime you're planning anything, a Touch the Truck event, a Halloween down in Main Street event, anytime you're positive parenting practices event, in regards to adverse childhood experiences, they're doing that in Logan County is why I bring that up. But we're just there to say, remember, there's kiddos with disabilities. So if you're doing a Touch the Truck, how about for the first 30 minutes, we do it as sensory friendly event. We don't turn on the lights. We don't turn on the sirens. So those families can come and enjoy those events also. And just, to remind them of who we serve and how they can make these events more open, inclusive, and welcoming to all families.
I love that you mentioned Touch a Truck. I mean, sorry, I've benefited from the Touch a Truck quiet hour. So I love that you guys are working directly in the counties for, those county events and making the whole county, more socially accepting, socially accessible for everyone. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're always looking for partners and people in the community that want to do things for our families. I know, pre-pandemic, of course, but we every year had a pool party for children with special needs at the Mustang Aquatic Center. In Enid, they have bins. It's called bin. I can't remember the name. but it's a riding stable, and they put in a sensory trail. So when the kids were doing horse therapy, it could also be a sensory trail. Eva has down in Cleveland County has an Uber rideshare program. It's kind of the transportation program of last resort. So if they can't catch the bus, if they can't pay for a cab, they can contact them and they will pay for them an Uber ride, and to go to a doctor's office, to pick up keys. A woman who was going through domestic violence, to pick up a key to a cottage to move her family into. So a veteran that needed to come up here to Veterans Hospital for a doctor's appointment. So it looks different who they help depending on the situation. But and we do sensitive Santa events in most of our communities. Of course, this is pre-COVID, but hopefully getting back to being able to do some of those community events, because our families sometimes they lack that, and definitely during this pandemic, our families have been isolated, and so we've got to find a way to bring some of those events back safely, so our kids and our families can get out of their homes and can get out and get some fresh air, be around some other people, but do it safely, of course.
It's really, really exciting to hear about all of the different resources and supports that you have to offer to Oklahoma as a state, not just those individual communities. It's quite extraordinary. Was there anything else that you wanted to share with us today?
No, I think I covered everything, and just know we're here. We're here to assist you guys and assist the families that you serve in your classrooms and the students that you serve. And we appreciate you and all the hard work that you do. And if we can be of any assistance, we're just a phone call or an email away.
Were there any questions from the group?
And let me give you my email address. If you want to email me, if you would like to get some of our brochures to hand out to families at your school, my email address is going to be Lori, Lori -Wathen, WATHEN @ouhsc.edu. Yep.
Will you repeat that one more time? Okay, it's in the chat. I see.
It's in the chat now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Was there any questions?
Just a heartfelt thank you. And now that I know everything you do, Lori, I feel like I'm going to be emailing you every time I take a call from a family.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys at the State Department of Ed, if you have families that call you that need resources, yeah, I've had several calls. Well, we're working on a wheelchair accessible van issue in Pottawatomie County, and then I got a call in Oklahoma County. They have the van, but they need a lift. So, and that's a challenging one, because there's not a lot of money or grants flowing around out there for those things. Definitely not to cover the whole van, but I think we can help the family that's just looking for the lift. But those are the kind of calls we get, and we're more than happy to help.
Well, we are certainly appreciative of you and your time and all of the wealth of options that you're offering to educators and families within the state. Again, thank you so much for being here and presenting for our Community Connections.
Thank you guys for having me. Jump off here, bye.
Have a great evening, everyone.